Hey guys, it's Devmode again. It looks like I'm also going to be your guest instructor for the month of May. Ken Hill's been really busy, getting some gigs and doing some performances, which is really awesome for his business. But because that he's really busy, and I've just been extending this month of May to just teach you guys some more stuff. So I'm going to teach you guys today some basics of XMA nunchuck play. So XMA stands for Extreme Martial Arts. It's definitely got a martial arts influence. It looks fast and furious. And it wouldn't just be limited to using chucks or anything. You can also do it open hand. You got some jump spinning kicks and whatnot. You also got bow staff, commas, a lot of other things too. It's a very competitive style performance. And I do want to make clear it is not actual martial arts. You will use real martial arts moves in it. Some stuff is definitely show-based as well. Stuff that's entertainment purpose. Stuff that just looks cool. Stuff that looks dangerous. Stuff like what you see in the movies too. And it is super awesome. I would say some great examples I would love you guys to search up are Matt Emig, that's E-M-I-G. There's Sammy Smith. There's Danny Etkin, E-T-K-I-N. They are some American superstars in the XMA world, and there are so many others out there. I don't want to make it sound strictly American, but that's where kind of the circuit for it is the greatest too. There's a lot of them over in Europe too. So do check out that sort of thing. Again, it's XMA, Extreme Martial Arts. But with that in mind, since I'm talking about it, I personally, this is not the way that I'm telling other people to think, but I like to break nunchucks, the categories of utilizing them into 4 different categories. So the first one is traditional usage or real martial arts, where usually you'll see wood, it's either chain or string, right? So first category, we got martial arts traditional usage. Usually you see holding wooden chucks much lower. We see big sweeping kind of motions getting a lot of range. And maybe we may use the chucks to parry and strike. We may use them to parry off that way too. We may keep them nice and close, this top handle not up like we usually see, but down. We can even lunge out with it as well. All right? And I do want to make clear, even though I've been using chucks all this time, not my weapon of choice. I'd rather use my arms, legs, knife, stick, other things, but these can definitely be an effective weapon. So that's first category is we have martial arts traditional usage. Second category is flow dancing, all right? With that one, that's very familiar to you guys, I'm sure, is we just do a lot of tricks, sort of things that just look nice and pleasant, all right? Other category is we have, I like to call it freestyle, and loosely I also call it juggling, which is very kind of adjacent to flow too. We're still making some kind of pleasant, cool things. This starts to take a direction from the flow dancing sort of place over near XMA. Somewhere in between we have freestyle and juggling. And that's, JJ and I have been teaching you guys a few things like that. We got technical tricks like the propeller. If I had the second chuck, I'm waving that stuff through. We will utilize a 3-beat as well to accelerate us into other motions of some kind. I should have a second chuck for this, but you guys have a general idea of that freestyle and juggling sort of thing. So that was 3 categories, and then we have XMA. Notice I grabbed different chucks for these too, and all chucks can be used for many things, but in XMA, we'll usually see things called speed chucks, all right? Speed chucks are usually nice, small pine wood dowels wrapped up in reflective tape, so that way they look super hyper. It probably looked like I did 5 spins there, it was just 2 spins. It just really helps to do that. If you look at an XMA style bow staff, it's just a toothpick shaped stick. It's usually a little smaller than the user, and it's got wrap just like this too. And when they spin it right in front of them, it looks like they're doing a million spins. It's really cool. They're really light, easy maneuver, just like these chucks too. So again, we have traditional usage, we have flow / dancing, we have juggling freestyle, and then we have XMA. And I just want to go into a few basics of it. I want to say I'm like a pro myself or anything, but this is just a way to kind of mean up your nunchuck play. Before we get into the sort of strikes and other tricks and stuff that we do, I want to talk about footwork because it looks dangerous, because we're using a martial arts sort of influence. Everything that you do, everything that you throw needs a base power, and we need stability from that. So I want to talk about stances and footwork for that. All right, so let's just learn a bit of front stance and a little bit of turning, a little bit of orienting. All right, welcome to the floor. So I want to talk about what's called a front stance, and you'll definitely see this a lot because we're throwing offensive movements. We set our weight forward into those too. You'll see this a lot in martial arts. People come out, chop, punch. It throws that stuff that way, and it also works. If you've ever seen, football, the offensive line or defensive, the people on the front line. I don't play football, right? They're there, they start. Do they go feet together and push each other? No. They have a leg behind bracing them and the front knee bent because they're trying to get the next step through. It helps them get power in that direction. So we'll be using this one a lot. So a front stance is a very sloppy measurement, and this is not universal across all martial arts. Is usually you'll start out with your feet together, turn one foot to the side. I put my heel where my toe was once and twice. I turn that forward. I'm going to do the same thing walking forward. Put my heel where my toe was once, put it forward a second time. I know you can't see my foot, so I'm going to shift it over this way. So I just did that measurement, 2 and 2. It's really a square stance. It doesn't look it most of the time. Right? And I want to bend my front knee, at least in my style of Taekwondo I practice. The front of the knee is pretty much right over the tips of your toes. It can also be different in many ways. There's no wrong answer really, as long as you have reinforcement. Right? Usually when I look down at my own knee, I can't see my own toes because my knee's in the way. Back leg is locked. In some places we have the knee unlocked too. It's really your preference, or if you do a certain martial art, you do it that way. Right? This gives me a lot of reinforcement this way and that way. If something were to push me back, I have this leg here kind of stilting me out. Right? I can step forward from that and I set my new weight on that front leg. So that's why it's called the front stance, is because most of the weight is on the front. Right? So we're just going to be using that a lot. Now while we're here, I want to talk about turning your body. Right? And it's not just going to be simple like that, because that doesn't look actiony. All right? In XMA, we utilize 45-degree angles a lot. So say this is 0 degrees, I turn 90 degrees this way. 45 degrees is a straight diagonal. All right? So it's just straight out to my sides at a 45-degree angle. They use this because it just looks more actiony. If you were to watch an action sequence in the movies, it doesn't look that great, from behind one character the whole way. You want those good camera angles and whatnot. And by going at this 45-degree angle, you get that. Now this differs from flow, because freestyle juggling and whatnot, because I want to utilize that wall plane where the audience is, and you can get this nice circle. If I turn it a little bit on this 45, you still see the profile of the circle. It's just a little narrower, and they don't get the full experience of the tricks that you're about to do. Right? So we like to utilize, this perpendicular orientation to the viewer. Right? And sometimes we'll go forward, but that also exposes different techniques. In XMA, we're going to have a lot of body movement. We're going to have a lot of different tricks. So a 45-degree angle is kind of like your middle ground for showing that off. So say I'm here, I step out on that front stance off this way. Now let's say we're going to be doing a move where we get a kind of cool sort of turn. And this is open hand, bow staff, nunchucks, anything too. This is a common type turn. There's a little crash course in it, is I'm going to pull my front leg back to my other leg. As I do that, I'm going to turn my body with the leg and face my back to the audience. After that, my other leg will come out at the other 45-degree angle. All right, so let me do this from a farther direction. I step out on that front stance. I pull this front leg back in front like that. All right, now notice my knees are bent this time. It helps you glide across, or give the impression of it. I know you can't see the top of my head, but if I keep my knees bent so my head is at the same level, I seem to kind of glide into that. All right, so I'm starting from this side. Front leg comes across. I don't want to pull it behind. Say you're the viewer. I want to pull it between me and the viewer. Feet together. Step out the other way. Wham. All right, and back foot, side, forward, depends on your martial art or your preference. All right, so again, front leg comes back. Step out. All right. Now, there's another version of this too, and I'm not the total expert on it. I saw this just from watching and learning on YouTube. We can have a version where this front leg, rather than coming all the way back, or it will come all the way back here, but rather than having both feet there, I'm going to instead kind of hop and switch it, and then I step back out. All right, this makes it very actiony. It makes it very floaty and dangerous looking. So I'm going to turn more on a side point for this. So I got my front foot, my back foot, and a middle. I pull this front foot to the middle and initiate my spin by twisting my body at the same time. And I kind of stay on there. I kind of kept my foot on the ground as I turn, but I may, before I even face that way, come out, untwist my body and land. I'm here, pull that front leg in, land. All right, so we'll be utilizing that sort of spin motion as we do our next moves. All right, welcome back. We're going to get into a few things about our strikes with our chuck. So, say I have one chuck, I have this guy up. Again, I'm using an XMA style chuck. This is a very short chainer string. This is only 3 links on this. For scale, here's my hand. As you notice, it's not perfectly measured up for hand rolls. You can still do hand rolls, you just got to be a little different about how you do it. But anyways, so we're here. When I just do a normal shoulder to hip strike, we will often utilize having the chuck very close in to reaching out at the end too, when, and then after you finish that strike, I want to pull it in right to the hip. Now you also see this in traditional usage too. I use my other hand to trap it, which is really nice, keeping the chucks from banging around and whatnot too. But when we get in doubles, we may utilize this a bit more too. I can also keep the chuck from slapping a lot. It may bounce a bit too, but I reach out and I pull it right in. Otherwise, we go like that. Oof, that's why we don't do it. Yeah, I want to go in and I keep it controlled. This makes it a very nice big strike, but it's also controlled and contained at the same time. All right. Now, if I have double chucks, where'd that second guy go? I have them both up here. Let's say I do it on the same side, or from the right shoulder to left hip. I reach out, I pull it in right to the hips. Wham. I don't want to anything like that. It looks too sloppy, it looks disorganized. So I reach out, I pull it in. All right? Wham. Now notice this time, I had my stance on this 45-degree angle. I had my chucks on the back shoulder. Let's say rather than striking out this way, I want to strike out that way. As I start to go, I turn. I'm just leaning on my other leg. I'm pointing my toes that way too, right? I turn and I strike, pull it in. I load it up on the other shoulder. I turn that stance facing the other way as I strike out. Wham. Up, wham. Up, wham. All right? Now, we can add a little more style to this. Let's say that the arm nearest the audience will go first, next arm goes second. Let's do this without the turning. I hit, hit. All right? Hit, hit. Ooh, I actually pulled in wrong. Hit, hit. All right, now I turn. Hit, hit. All right? That one makes it a little more whoosh whoosh. All right? For comparison. All right? So, that's some cool stuff. Also notice what I just did there was I pulled these in, at least with the short chain, and it matches up nice. I turn the chuck forward with my hand open, clasp it closed. I can do it with both. I can also come in, but it works really nice for this. I'm coming out of something I just did, wham. All right? Now, we have what I often hear is called the blockbuster strike. Let's say I have one chuck for now. I wave it over my head once, get at the other hip. So let's say I start at this hip, wave over the top, come in. Again, whoosh. Let's say we see it on the other side. Starts from one hip, goes behind the head, hits. Now the chuck doesn't literally have to drape. I have a standing line in front of me, so I'm not going full speed there. Oh, never mind, I can just lower my stance. All right, this guy comes up, wham. Notice it's kind of coming to this shoulder. It comes back to its own shoulder, and then it goes down to the hip. All right, now we take this with doubles. You can do this with both at the same time, but there is a chance that they may hit each other too, and then your head. So using the same property of how we did one and then the other, I'm going to do it with one and the other. So I need to use the arm closest to the audience first. Take this in steps first. I go up and over, next one, up and over, and at the hip. Now I got my right arm, the one closest to the audience. Take that one first, this one second, wham. All right, now, after being very careful, you may want to use padded chucks for this at first. I can bring it in. Now when I was demonstrating, I was very nice and close to my head as I did that. You can start to raise it up and out. I don't want to be like this the whole time. I mean, it looks fine, but I want a little bit of extreme usage there. All right? Wham, 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 wham. All right? So those are some nice strikes. Now let's talk about that one where we spin around. All right? So I have the chucks here at this hip. Let's say that they were acting like one chuck and they do that blockbuster strike, where they kind of come around like that. We're going to be utilizing that motion. So on one hip, I pull it up to the opposite shoulder, move behind my head to the other shoulder, end at the other hip. All right, if I was going the other way, hip to shoulder, shoulder to other shoulder, hip. All right, oh wait, not that way. I cross, behind, hip. Cross, behind, hip. All right. Now, I usually see this in freestyle, because freestyle does utilize strikes as well. Anything can utilize strikes, it's just, I categorize for just ease of thinking. You can also end with your farther out arm outstretched, while the other arm comes in tucked. All right. With these styles of chucks, these XMA style chucks, because of that small sort of tether, they may end up spinning a little bit at the end of that motion. All right. But coming out of any of these moves, I can tuck the arm that will be facing the audience in, or bring it down the hip, while this other guy comes out stretched. All right. Now, back to our spinning move. I start at this opposite hip. I'm going to do that footwork I showed you guys earlier where I pull that front foot back to the other foot. As I'm doing that, I'm pulling the chucks up to this shoulder. So I pull the front foot back with it, wing. And move the chucks over to the other side. Other foot steps out, and I strike. All right, now I do it to the other side. Front foot comes back. I turn it first to face the audience. That's the direction I'm spinning. Now I face away from the audience. Other shoulder, out. Spot your target first. Hit. All right. Again, this hip to opposite shoulder as I turn. Whoosh, other shoulder, out. Now you can also spice it up a little bit. I come in, over, 1, 2. All right. It's very important that you look where you're going. I don't want to just look to the front as I go, because now it looks a little bit soft. I want to spot my target. I always tell my kids whenever we learn spin kicks and whatnot is, what do you do before you cross the street? You look. Before you commit to any spinning movement, or before you finish it, you need to spot your target. So I was just dealing with this dude over here. I spot first on my way. I only want my head to turn for a moment so I can spot it out the corner of my eye and keep my eyes locked on that target. Hit. Same the other side. I look, turn my head nice and quick, hit. All right? So those are some basics of just spinning around and getting some direct strikes with XMA sort of things. This can transfer to other genres as well. It is not exclusive to XMA. It's just a lot of times when I'm trying to identify kind of the overall theme someone is using their nunchuck play, or something that I want to learn too, I use those 4 categories I mentioned earlier, and XMA is one of them because it has just its own flavor of nunchuck usage. Now, I will say personally, this is actually my least practiced type of nunchuck play, but it's one that I probably adore the most. And my overall goal, even though I've been doing a lot of flow and freestyle type usage, and I've been learning traditional and Matayoshi Kobudo lately, is I've been wanting to actually go into flow and freestyle so I could come back in the XMA and pop out a really cool move. So that's one thing I did not mention in XMA is they use these direct strikes and the cool kind of showy looking sort of things, but they also do straight up quote unquote circus tricks. That's just a term that some people who either hate how we do nunchucks, not martial arts, and also people like me who love nunchucks to death in any style, sometimes we just call it circus tricks too. Where it's just something that serves no martial arts purpose, doesn't look dangerous, but dang is it skillful. And that's another thing that they do in XMA is, while you are martial arts, and even with the chucks out, they may go and then throw the tornado kick or something as well while spinning the chucks. Even though that's not very martial arts sort of thing, you'll see non-martial arts things because it shows your understanding and control of the weapon or the prop that you're using. Right? So, and Matt Emig, not just Matt Emig, Sammy Smith, Danny Etkin, many other people, they are crazy pros in nunchuck tricks too. Personally, what I want to take is that flavor, such as the Simex. I don't know, doing something dangerous, I'm not too perfect at this, and then just suddenly pop out. I don't use these chucks. Pop out, one of those redirects and keep it going, so the audience is just caught off guard. All right, cool manipulations and stuff are really the highest points of XMA, and that's kind of cool because XMA isn't its own world and it's not correctly done in its own world, but it branches out to these other styles of nunchuck usage too. From the traditional, from dance and flow being available to the audience and showing your best angles for the best moves, your freestyle and quote unquote juggling sort of style where you show expert manipulation of the weapon too. XMA really kind of does encompass all of that, but it is its own distinct flavor too. So I'm talking about bringing the other categories into that to kind of spice my own performance of it up. But I just want to share it with you guys because if you are flowers at heart or if you like these other usages, maybe we can take techniques from there and pull it into there too. And it's not about mastering any one of these four. It's not about being master none, jack of all trades sort of thing. It's about just being good at what you want to do and having fun with it. So I hope you like this little exploration into XMA. There's a lot more out there, but I just want to keep this short. It's already kind of long. But if you guys like it, I hope you take something from it and learn something new. So have fun, use some soft chucks, and be safe.